Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our readings of 1001 Nights. My name is Saman Giraud and I'll be your host this evening. And I welcome all of our wonderful, wonderful people all over this world that we're inviting to join us, regardless of where you are, regardless of what time it is. And for those of you who don't know, we started this project in March, I believe, during the lockdown, and continued reading in the name of oneness, actually. So we shall continue, and we will continue tonight with the 132nd night. We've got only 4 years to go, 4 more years to go, as far as I know. All right, enjoy the reading. Now when it was the 132nd night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the vizier took the shop keys, he went, accompanied by Taj al-Muluk and Aziz, to the Khan, and they bade the servants transport to the shop all their goods and stuffs and valuables, of which they had great store worth treasures of money. And when all this was duly done, they went to the shop and ordered their stock in trade and slept there that night. As soon as morning morrowed, the vizier took the 2 young men to the hammam bath, where they washed them clean, and they donned rich dresses and scented themselves with essences and enjoyed themselves to the utmost. Now each of the youths was passing fair to look upon, and in the bath they were even as saith the poet. Luck to the rubber whose deft hand overflies, a frame begotten twixt the lymph and light. He shows the thaumaturgy of his craft, and gathers musk in form of camphor dyed." After bathing they left. And when the overseer heard that they had gone to the hammam, he sat down to await the twain. And presently they came up to him like 2 gazelles. Their cheeks were reddened by the bath, and their eyes were darker than ever. Their faces shone, and they were as 2 lustrous moons, or 2 branches fruit laden. Now when he saw them, he rose forthright and said to them, "O my sons, may your bath profit you alway." Whereupon Taj al-Muluk replied with the sweetest of speech, "Allah be bountiful to thee, O my father. Why didst thou not come with us and bathe in our company?" Then they both bent over his right hand and kissed it and walked before him to the shop, to entreat him honourably and show their respect for him, for that he was chief of the merchants and the market, and he had done them kindness in giving them the shop. When he saw their hips quivering as they moved, desire and longing redoubled on him, and he puffed and snorted, and he devoured them with his eyes, for he could not contain himself, repeating the while these 2 couplets. Here the heart reads a chapter of devotion pure, nor reads dispute if heaven in worship partner take. No wonder 'tis he trembles walking neath such weight. How much of movement that revolving sphere must make. Furthermore he said, "I saw 2 charmers treading humble earth, 2 I must love, and tread they on mine eyes." When they heard this, they conjured him to enter the bath with them a 2nd time. He could hardly believe his ears, and hastening thither went in with them. The vizier had not yet left the bath, so when he heard of the overseer's coming, he came out, and meeting him in the middle of the bath hall, invited him to enter. He refused, whereupon Taj al-Muluk, taking him by the hand, walked on one side and Aziz by the other, and carried him into a cabinet, and that impure old man submitted to them whilst his emotion increased on him. He would have refused, albeit this was what he desired. But the minister said to him, "They are thy sons. Let them wash thee and cleanse thee." "Allah preserve them to thee," exclaimed the overseer. "By Allah, your coming and the coming of those with you bring down blessings and good luck upon our city." And he repeated these two couplets. Thou camest, and green grew the hills anew, and sweetest bloom to the bridegroom threw, while aloud cried earth and her earthborns too, "Hail and welcome, who comest with grace to endue." They thanked him for this, and Taj al-Muluk ceased not to wash him, and Aziz to pour water over him, and he thought his soul in paradise. When they had made an end of his service, he blessed them and sat by the side of the vizier, talking but gazing the while on the youths. Presently the servants brought them towels, and they dried themselves and donned their dress. Then they went out, and the minister turned to the syndic and said to him, "O my lord, verily the bath is the paradise of this world." Replied the overseer, "Allah vouchsafe to thee such paradise, and health to thy sons, and guard them from the evil eye. Do ye remember aught that the eloquent have said in praise of the bath?" Quoth Taj al-Muluk, "I will repeat for thee a pair of couplets." And he recited, "The life of the bath is the joy of man's life, save that time is short for us there to bide. Heaven, where irksome it were to stay, a hell delightful at entering tide." When he ended his recital, quoth Aziz, "And I also remember 2 couplets in praise of the bath." The overseer said, "Let me hear them." So he repeated the following. A house where flowers from stones of granite grow, seen at its best when hot with living low. Thou deem'st it hell, but here forsooth is heaven, and some like suns and moons within it show. And when he had ended this recital, his verses pleased the overseer, and he wondered at his words and savoured their grace and fecundity, and said to them, "By Allah, ye possess both beauty and eloquence. But now listen to me, you twain." And he began chanting and recited in song the following verses. "O joy of hell and heaven, whose tormentry and quickens frame and soul with lively grief, I marvel so delightsome house to view, and most when 'neath it kindled fires I see. Sojourn of bliss to visitors withal, pools on them pour down tears unceasingly." Then his eyesight roamed and browsed on the gardens of their beauty, and he repeated these 2 couplets. "I went to the house of the keeper man, he was out, but others to smile began. I entered his heaven and then his hell, and I said, bless Malik and bless Rizwan." When they heard these verses, they were charmed, and the overseer invited them to his house, but they declined and returned to their own place to rest from the great heat of the bath. So they took their ease there and ate and drank, and passed that night in perfect solace and satisfaction, till morning dawned, when they arose from sleep, and making their lesser ablution, prayed the dawn prayer and drank the morning draught. As soon as the sun had risen and the shops and markets opened, they arose and going forth from their place to the bazaar, opened their shops, which their servants had already furnished after the handsomest fashion, and had spread with prayer rugs and silken carpets, and had placed on the divans a pair of mattresses, each worth 100 dinars. On every mattress they had disposed a rug of skin fit for a king, and edged with a fringe of gold. And in middlemost the shop stood a third seat, still richer even as the place required. Then Taj al-Muluk sat down on one divan, and Aziz on another, whilst the vizier seated himself on that in the centre, and the servants stood before them. The city people soon heard of them and crowded about them, so that they sold some of their goods and not a few of their stuffs, for Taj al-Muluk's beauty and loveliness had become the talk of the town. Thus they passed a trifle of time, and every day the people flocked to them and pressed upon them more and more. So the vizier, after exhorting Taj al-Muluk to keep his secret, commended him to the care of Aziz, and went home, that he might commune with himself alone, and cast about for some contrivance which might profit them. Meanwhile, the two young men sat talking, and Taj al-Muluk said to Aziz, "Haply, someone will come from the Lady Dunya." So he ceased not expecting this chance days and nights, but his heart was troubled, and he knew neither sleep nor rest, for desire had got the mastery of him, and love and longing were sore upon him, so that he renounced the solace of sleep, and abstained from meat and drink. Yet ceased he not to be like the moon on the night of fullness. Now one day, as he sat in the shop, behold, there came up an ancient woman. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Thank you for the hearts. I hope you enjoyed the 132nd night. Apologies, I didn't turn the page that quickly. There was a little insect on it. Wanted it to stay alive. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you. Tomorrow Joanna is going to tune in and continue with the 133rd night. If you would like to hear how the story of Vizier and Aziz and Taj al-Muluk goes, please tune in tomorrow. Oh, another friend tuned in. Let me wave. It's always so lovely. All right. And I'll see you guys back on Thursday. Thanks a lot. And as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards.